What's your most mind-blown moment in life, where things got so serendipitous it felt unreal? This was about 8 years ago. A group of friends and I were headed to a game store and were talking about the terrible drivers in our friend group. We all agreed our friend Steve was the worst because he was always on his phone while driving. As we pass an on-ramp for the highway, we almost get run into by a car that swerved over into our lane. As we look over, it was Steve, on his phone. We were dumbfounded. Found a handwritten letter from my dad on the 20th anniversary of his death. It was the poem If by Rudyard Kipling when I was going through a split and feeling lost. It's now framed and makes me smile most days. Once randomly bumped into my childhood best friend in a bustling Tokyo crowd after years of no contact. Turns out, we booked the same tour on opposite sides of the world. Small world, big surprises. Anyone else had a friendship reunion in the most unexpected place. I'm from a small bumpkin town and now I live in a bustling suburb of a large metro about 30 miles away. Was eating at a Bojangles for the first time in many years and looked out the window at the road. I saw an old green single-wide trailer being towed down the road and I called my mom and asked if someone removed the trailer from the property we used to live on. She said yes, because my parents sold the property recently and the new owners had the trailer removed that day. So I got to wave goodbye to the old trailer from inside a Bojangles. It was like seeing an old friend. We were on a trip in Croatia, driving through the dense city streets, trying to find a place to park. Out of boredom, I start singing Batman theme. Na 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 na, and when I said Batman, I looked out the car window, and there he was, a kid in a Batman costume. I'm on this epic road trip, and I accidentally drop my favorite bracelet in a massive park. After hours of searching, feeling defeated, a bird swoops down, picks up my bracelet, and drops it right into my hand. It was like a magical moment, and I couldn't believe my luck. My family was at a park near our house. A butterfly wouldn't leave us alone, adorable, and eventually it landed on my wife's shoulder and on my son's finger. Once it landed, we saw the coloring and realized it was the same butterfly that my MIL used to dress up as. She loved butterflies, and found excuses to put on that costume. Not saying it was my MIL, but by MIL definitely believed in an afterlife. And how often does a butterfly just straight up not leave you alone, and also ignore the 30 other people at the park? I posted a picture of a tree being removed from my new backyard in a digital trading card Discord, and another guy told me I had bought his house. I once had a very vivid dream that I was walking down the street and a black car pulled up alongside me, and Philip Seymour Hoffman got out and made small talk. Random but memorable to me for some reason. A few years later I had moved to NYC and was walking through Midtown to my friend's apartment. I stopped at an intersection and a black car pulls up to the curb, and Philip Seymour Hoffman gets out. I didn't want to bother him, but we did smile at each other. He was on his way to play Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman on Broadway. Longtime autistic friend I found in a particular fandom some 12 years ago, and I realized we actually were classmates back in elementary school. We just kinda blanked out those years since they were so horrible. So we actually knew each other for way longer than either of us could have thought. I dreamt I was on a cot in some warehouse homeless shelter type place. What was weird was that out the window was a flat roof. Like I was on a level that ended at the window, but the floor underneath me continued. I broke my leg a few days later and found myself lying in a hospital bed and looking out a window onto that flat roof. Went to a concert with my best friend of 20 years, saw a lot of our bands that we've loved since our childhood to now Spanish concert in LA. Everything about it was awesome and I couldn't have imagined spending it with anyone but her. We left the concert and it was a shit show finding an Uber to take us home. I looked up and saw a falling star and made a wish. She asked me what did I wish for and I said an Uber because we had been waiting out in the cold for like 30 minutes. A minute later my Uber guy says he's here, LOL. Just was an amazing experience. The day my dad died he was 95 when I got back to my house. and got on my computer. I got a memory pop-up from that day 6 years prior. It was a photo of my dad and mom from the back sitting on a park bench looking at the mountains. I had taken that photo 6 years ago to the day that my dad died. My mom had died 2 years earlier, so it just felt to me like the universe was communicating to me that they were together again. It still gives me chills to think about this. I had a work ID that was 6 digits long. I used this ID to log into the company website on a daily basis. A few months into the job, I had to reset my Facebook password and was texted a 6-digit code as part of the process. It was the exact same digits as my work ID. By my calculations, that has a 0.002 chance of happening. Crazy. In 1999-2000, I worked in a student bar in Manchester with a guy called Dave. In 2002, in the middle of the night at some anonymous service station in Spain for a 15-minute break stop, while traveling on the bus from France to Portugal, I bumped into Dave. I like observing the night sky. Once I was at my friend's garden, and I was showing her a few constellations and planets. At the exact moment I pointed at Mars, suddenly a meteor came though. It cut through the dark sky and lit up the night. It was so quick, but so beautiful. We looked at each other completely amazed, and immediately hugged. Bought a house the day it went on the market that my husband and I always loved from driving past for years. We bought it after attempting to buy a different house that fell through. Crazy part is about 6 years ago I had a yard sale at my grandparents' house, and sold some antique wine-making materials to a family who was about to open a winery business. The owner of the house we bought was the mother of the woman in the yard sale family. We randomly chose a date for closing, and coincidentally, it was the previous owner's birthday and my mom's birthday. That date was also the garage code. I have a super-duper shy and quiet friend who is very difficult to hold a conversation with in the class because of his shyness. One day I was shocked when I found his social media account because he was very confident in the picture and I never knew he has a girlfriend. He is like a completely different person outside of school. LOL. The day before, I lost an Apple Watch. 2 days later, when biking, I fell off. Many lucky things happened. I managed to jump into the 3 feet of grass patch along the road without injury. My bike was perfectly fine. My Apple Watch came out of my pants legs, and for passerby, it looked like some Mission Impossible thing where the guy jumps off and in a fluid motion, recovers. Not mine specifically, but one I was involved in. Went to P.F. Chang's with my wife and her whole family for her cousin's birthday. At the end of the meal, they bring out fortune cookies, and my meals read something like "You're in for a special surprise soon." Guess who planned on that night to be the night we told her she was getting another granddaughter? Was hanging out with friends in a foreign country. We were in line at McDonald's talking about our one other friend still back in home country had a brother who was kinda douchey. Lo and behold, that friend's brother is standing in line in front of us. Probably heard everything we were saying, OF all the countries and all the McDonald's and all the moments, and all the topics of conversation. How could this happen to us? Less than 50 years before the new globe was discovered, the Roman Empire completely collapsed. I go to Omegle for 3 consecutive nights, talking to strangers and share my problems there. One time I decided to go to Omegle at 9 a.m. because I was feeling a bit down, and guess what? I met this genuine American guy. He's silly and super kind. In that moment my heart skipped a beat, felt like I'm emotionally attached, and my soul was too. We talked there for an hour and the site luckily didn't act up and didn't skipped. He is my boyfriend for almost a year now. Ethan, lovey, I love you, okay? I can't wait to see you in 2 years. Sold a motorcycle in 2004. In Denver, to a guy who drove down from Oregon to get it. Saw a bike pic come up on Reddit in 2018. It was the bike I sold, posted by the guy I sold it to. One day in Charleston, South Carolina, I heard the U2 song I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For at least 5 different times, in all different settings, including a live gospel rendition, performed live in Marion Square.